welcome to Route 7 of the Across London Visual Marathon, where we will be going from London Bridge all the way to the Tower of London. And this is a fantastic route because you get the iconic sites like London Bridge and Tower of London in the distance, mixed with the wonderful views of the city and this regenerated area that used to be a port. I'm Philip Carey from stridingcities.com, and I'm here to show you what the route looks like from the runner's point of view, and also give you an audio guide so you get to know the history, you get to know the sites, and you get to know the places that you might want to come back to enjoy at your leisure. This route is perfect for its historical sites and riverside views. It's the second route of the City of London collection and starts from London Bridge Station, goes along the riverside, past Hays Galleria, HMS Belfast, City Hall, Tower Bridge, St Katharine Docks and the Tower of London. We start outside London Bridge Station on station approach, and we have the Shard behind us, which is the UK's tallest building at 300 metres. We go past the buses here and then underneath the railway towards London Bridge itself. London Bridge Station is the older station in London, built in 1836, but it's one that's been recently revamped to increase the traffic by over 30%. And this area gets very busy, especially at rush hour, with all the people heading off towards their offices across the bridge in the City of London. We exit on with Tooley Street on our right, and in front of us you can just see the spire of Southwark Cathedral with Borough Market to the left, so there's plenty of places to eat and drink. The Southwark Gateway Needle is in front of us, and it's shaped like a spike to represent the spikes that used to be on the old London Bridge with the heads of those who had been executed at Tower Hill. And just on our right hand side you'll see there is the City of London Dragon, which marks the entry into the City of London. And we go down these steps here at number 1 London Bridge, and this will give you some spectacular views across to the City of London with all its tall buildings as well as London Bridge. This is called the Queen's Walk, and it's a 4-kilometre section that originally starts at Lambeth Palace near Lambeth Bridge and goes all the way to Tower Bridge. And it was built when they were redeveloping this side of the river, which was all full of wharves, quays and industries, to make it a vibrant place culturally and visually. If you look across the river at this point here, you should be able to see the monument to the Great Fire of London. It's a column with an orb on top of it, and that actually represents the place where old London Bridge used to go across. The tallest building that you can also see is 22 Bishopsgate. I want to show you 2 maps of how the river used to look going back in history. The first one's in Tudor times, and you can see there's not very much going on the south side of the river. And that's because London at that time was only about 50,000 people. But compare that to it in Victorian times in the mid-1800s, and you'll see that it is full of warehouses and wharves and quays and jetties. And one of these is the Hays Galleria, and it's named after its original owner, the merchant Alexander Hay, who acquired the property as a brew house in 1861. It was later converted into a wharf, which you would be able to see as you enter the Galleria, which would have warehouses all around with the dock in the middle, and this used to hold tea and coffee. And just as we exit, we also have a pub, just in case you feel like a drink of some description. As we exit, you'll see a ship on the left-hand side, which is HMS Belfast, which was in fact made in Belfast and was launched on St Patrick's Day in 1938. She had 25 years of active service and saw action in the Antarctic, Normandy, Korea and the North Cape, and suffered a few injuries along the way. She was acquired by the Imperial War Museum. She weighs 11,200 tonnes and has a top speed of over 40 miles per hour, and her armaments include 12 6-inch guns, as well as torpedo tubes and depth charges. This area of London is known as More London, and was part of a £1 billion development on this area of the South Bank, transforming the derelict brownfield sites into a bustling business and cultural district. And it is complete with facilities such as health clubs, places to eat and drink. It's got the Scoop and Unicorn Theatre for entertainments, and a trip around to the back you'll see some water features, as well as the famous City Hall, which served as the headquarters of the Greater London Authority between 2002 and 2021, when it moved to East London by the Royal Docks. City Hall was designed by Norman Foster as a new landmark for the capital and a model of democracy, accessibility and sustainability. And the building's unusual design was to improve energy efficiency. It has various nicknames in the past, such as the Snail, the Onion and the Testicle. is now going through a revamp, so it'll look quite a bit different, and no doubt have a new name. The area on our right is called Pottersfield Park, but its history dates back to pickled herring potteries that used to be here in 1618. This has great views over to the Tower of London and the city buildings, and behind there are places to eat and drink and to explore. Ahead of us we can see Tower Bridge, but to the right you'll see a small arch, and that leads into Shad Thames, which in Victorian times was the largest warehouse complex in London and housed vast quantities of tea, coffee, spices and other goods, which earned its nickname as the Larder of London. And it's well worth a visit because it's great atmospherically and there are plenty of places to eat and drink. We go up the stairs to the top of Tower Bridge, and as we turn around we get some great views of the City of London, as well as the route that we've just passed along, past More London. And Tower Bridge is London's iconic Grade 1 listed bridge, built in 1894 as a drawbridge and a suspension bridge. The bridge is 250 metres long and consists of two towers connected at the upper levels by two horizontal walkways, which you can go across with the Tower Bridge experience. The bridge opens about 800 times a year, and the bridge was designed by Sir Horace Jones, who also designed Leadenhall Market and Old Billingsgate Market, which you can see on the north side just beyond Customs House. Now there are a couple of great stories about Tower Bridge, including in 1968 when the Royal Air Force Hawker Hunter performed an unauthorised low fly pass across many London sites and went through the span of Tower Bridge. This action was to mark the 50th anniversary of the founding of the RAF and to demonstrate against the Ministry of Defence for not recognising it. The other was when the bridge opened while President Clinton's cavalcade was going through it to visit our Prime Minister, Tony Blair. But as ships take priority, it cut the cavalcade in half, much to the annoyance of the security services. As we get to the end of the bridge, we're going to look for a set of stairs, and these will take you down towards St Katharine Docks and the river. As we get to the bottom, we're going to turn left and we're going to head up towards these brown buildings here and then turn right to head into St Katharine's Dock. Now it's called St Katharine's Dock because the site was formerly the home of the Hospital of St Katharine's by the Tower, which was established in 1147. And it was a controversial construction because in order to make way for this new dock, 1,250 homes and the old hospital were destroyed, which displaced 11,000 people, many of which were dock workers. Now, I want to point out that at this junction by these coloured walls, we're going to go back to this point after we've been around St Katharine's Dock. When we get round again, we're going to be turning to the right to go down to the riverfront. But our journey around St Katharine's Dock starts from the Lock Bridge. Thomas Telford built these docks in 1828, and his aim was to minimise the amount of quayside activity and specified that the dock warehouses were to be built on the quayside so that goods could be unloaded directly into them to save time and money and to get the goods quicker to their end destinations. These docks were the last to be built and the closest docks to central London. However, they were heavily damaged in World War II and closed in 1968, but it was the first area to be redeveloped as a commercial centre and a marina and a hotel. In front of us we have Dickens Inn, which dates from the 18th century and is thought to have been built as a tea factory and then converted into a local brewery. It was later converted into a warehouse and then a tavern, which it is still today. When the area was redeveloped, though, it had to be moved 70 yards to this location. As we cross over this bridge between the two dock areas, we come across one of the original warehouses that stood on this site. As you can see, the warehouse was very close to the dock side, but now all these buildings are shops and offices and residential apartments. But most of these warehouses above would have held luxury goods and those in quick demand for those in the City of London and beyond. On the left-hand side you have Tower Hotel, which was built in 1973 for J. Lyons of the Lyons Corner Houses and Tea Shops, and had 800 rooms. And it was built in this brutalist style, which doesn't appeal to many people, and at one point in 2006 it was classified as the second ugliest building in London, but it has mellowed over time. As we get to the end past these war murals, we're going to turn the corner, but we're going to edge towards the right-hand side till we get to the lock gates of St Katharine's Dock, and we're going to turn right by the side of those. Now, when Thomas Telford built this, he had an ingenious hydraulic system which enabled the level of the docks to be just 4 feet difference to that of the river, which meant that ships could come in and out of the docks at a much faster rate. As we get to the riverside, we see Butlers Wharf in front of us, which is where all the warehouses were, and that's where a number of restaurants and places to eat are. But behind that is Shard Thames, and to access that there's a few alleyways along the side of Shard Thames which will bring you onto the front. We have great views of the Tower Bridge in front of us, especially this time of day, and as we get to this corner we will pass a sculpture called The Girl and Dolphin by David Wynne, which was installed here in 1973. And in fact it has a twin, The Boy with the Dolphin, which can be seen at Cheyne Walk near Chelsea Bridge. And the story goes that the artist swam with dolphins before he made these sculptures. This is a great place to just stop at the end here to take a look at the construction of the bridge, which is made of 11,000 tonnes of steel, as well as to get a view of where we're going to next, which is Tower of London Wharf on our right hand side, as well as views along the river. And we turn around and we're going to go into Tower Wharf at the side of the Tower of London. And it's the second exit here, which opens at 7 o'clock in the morning, which is about the time I'm going through. And therefore there's lots of lorries which are coming in to offload their goods for the number of tourists who will be going around the Tower of London. And if we go towards the left hand side, you get a good view of the area we've just been across on the south side, as well as the Tower of London on our right, with Tower Bridge behind. It is officially called His Majesty's Royal Palace and Fortress of the Tower of London, and it was founded in 1066 as part of the Norman Conquest. The White Tower is the iconic central square tower of the Tower of London, and it is the tower's keep that was used as a refuge, a military base and living quarters for the reigning monarch. It was actually built in 1097 by William the Conqueror, and one of its purposes was to terrify Londoners and deter foreign invaders. It was painted white in 1240 by Henry III, and since then it's been known as the White Tower, or the Torches Tower, by traitors. And on that note, we pass Traitors' Gates, which actually dates from 1297, but was originally a water gate by which the King Edward I could arrive at the tower by river. However, as the Tower of London increasingly became used as a prison for enemies of the state accused of treason, it acquired its current name, Traitors' Gate, due to the number of prisoners charged with treason who passed through it before being tortured, executed and having their heads put on spikes at Old London Bridge. As we get to the southwest corner of the Tower of London, you will have noticed a number of different towers. The ones in the middle are more for the palace, and the ones at the end are defensive, such as Bayward's Tower and its great gatehouse on the outer wall of the tower. It was built by King Henry III and completed in 1297 for extra protection of the keep, and today is used as the main entrance to the Tower of London. As we exit the gates, we pass some metal figures of animals. This represents the Royal Menagerie, which was established here in Henry III's time in the 13th century, and there would have been polar bears, elephants and many other different animals, and it remained a zoo until 1835 when London Zoo was created. The purpose of the Tower of London was not only to protect the King, it was also the armoury, it was the Royal Mint, and it held the crown jewels, as well as being a secure prison for traitors. But interestingly, only 20 people have been executed within the Tower of London. 3 of those in Tudor times, including Anne Boleyn, Catherine Howard and Lady Jane Grey. But the majority were actually executed in the 20th century during the World Wars, the last being a German spy, Joseph Jacob, who died in a firing squad in 1941. Now as we cross the road into Trinity Gardens, we will pass the main execution site of this area, which is here. And this was for over 100 other such unfortunate souls who were either hanged, beheaded, or underwent the rather arduous process of being hung, drawn and quartered. But Trinity Gardens also holds memorials to merchant seamen who died during the war, for which there are no graves. And one of these memorials is to the Falkland Islands, which is here on the right hand side. As we exit the gardens, we will head towards Tower Hill Station, and our finish point is at the end by the old Roman wall, looking towards one of London's most famous landmarks, the Tower of London, with Tower Hill Station on our right. And this shows you all the routes in the City of London collection. You can do these individually, as a group, or all together in the Across London Visual Marathon. Hello and welcome to the end of Route 7 of the Across London Visual Marathon. We've just got to continue along here and go all the way up to Tower Hill Station. I just want to leave you with three things. First off, please subscribe, because then you get more information of some of the routes that you could see along the route. The second thing is that when you decide to do this route for real, use the links below, because you get all the information you need in one place so that you can experience it at your own pace. And it's got GPX files, Google and Strava maps, as well as photo guides and maps so you can find out best places to eat and drink and things to do in the local area when you've got some time. And the third thing is just explore London more as you run it, because it's such a great way to connect. Have fun on the run in London and use these routes so you can get to know the places before you type your laces. I'm Philip Carey from Strident Cities. Thank you.